Welcome to Unboxing History. I'm Christine Hopkins of Unboxing History, a podcast presented by the Galveston County Museum. And every month, we unbox an artifact that's included as part of the museum's collection. So today, we have a special guest. This is Shelby Rodwell, and she is part of the curating staff here at the museum. So, Shelby, what is our artifact?
Well, let's take a peek. Today, I have a women's bathing suit from the roughly 1890 to 1910.
Wow.
Let's see here. It is not like the bathing suits we wear today.
Just look at that. Wow. So let's describe it for people that are listening.
Absolutely. So it is actually kind of like a unitard jumper. It's very thick cloth. It has pants that would go down to roughly the wearer's knees, and then a skirt that attaches at the waist here. It buttons all the way up and would come up to roughly her neck.
Wow.
And then the sleeves would come down to just about shoulder length, a little bit past. So it's a very modest bathing suit, to be sure.
Yes. So basically you're covered from neck to below the knee.
Yes.
And what type of fabric is that, do you think?
So this, I would say probably thick cotton. But a lot of times, especially after the 1890s, bathing suits started being made of wool.
Oh my God.
Extra itchy.
Oh my gosh. Well, so you have created a wonderful new exhibit here at the museum. And so tell us a little bit about that. I know, how long did it take you to work on the exhibit, and what are some of the things that you learned about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it took roughly 3 months to put it all together, give or take a little bit. It focuses on Galveston beaches, and we have quite a few really interesting artifacts. So you can come see this actual bathing suit in person. We also have a children's bathing suit that is made of wool. We have tickets from Murdoch's Bathhouse dating to roughly the early 1900s, and then a couple of other really interesting things like photographs and postcards.
Well, and I think that, there's so many, if you even go on eBay and look online, there's so many historic photos of people coming to the beaches and postcards of people coming to the beaches. So how long have people been coming to Galveston to enjoy our beaches?
Absolutely. So a very long time. There was a tourism renovation project that happened in the late 1800s, and up until then, swimming was a pastime for people, but not as common. So it was about the late 1800s and early 1900s when cars started becoming available, that long distance travel became more of a common thing that wasn't just available to, higher class. And so I would say late 1800s, early 1900s is really when Galveston tourism took off. But people had been swimming in the Gulf even longer before that.
Well, it's pretty amazing. Well, and so you think about even before the 1900 storm, people were coming to Galveston to enjoy the beaches. And so tourism's been a big part of our history for a long, long time. Now, at one point in my career, I worked at the Hotel Galveston, and people would come and basically stay for the summer to enjoy the beaches. Now, which parts of the beaches were the most popular?
Well, that is a really interesting question. So historically, the idea is that 21st to 25th Street would have been the most popular part of the beach. But actually, up until the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Galveston's beaches were racially segregated. So the most popular part of the beach was designated solely for white visitors and beachgoers. Now, 28th to 29th Street was segregated and designated for African American visitors and residents. That was a very, very popular beach as well. Outside of the West End, that was the only beach that legally, during segregation, African American beachgoers could visit. So within that pocket, a lot of very popular Black-owned businesses popped up.
That explains a lot.
Yes, and it became a community, and it really became a very, very popular part of the beach. Unfortunately, some of that gets lost to history or ignored. So us at the museum, we really want to highlight the fact that though it seems as if 21st to 25th Street was the busiest part, it's really more like 29th to 25th Street.
So basically from 21st to 25th, that is where most visitors and residents would have gone, especially if they were white. If they were African American, they would have gone to the segregated beaches, which was 25th to 29th or
28th to
28th to 29th, which again, that explains why some of the businesses were where they are at that time. You know, now people kind of come, they bring all their own gear, they bring their umbrellas and their chairs, or they rent them. But what was it like coming to the beaches back in the days of Murdoch's and the bathhouses? Explain that for people that aren't familiar with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the island had quite a few very successful bathhouses. Murdoch's has been rebuilt, but is still there today. It just serves a little bit different of a purpose. So the bathhouses were kind of a one-stop shop for anybody. Bathing suits were, because swimming was a kind of newer idea, bathing suits weren't owned by everyone. And I mean, they were heavy and kind of hard to pack. So people would go to bathhouses to rent used bathing suits, which sounds interesting.
Yes.
They also could be an attraction within themselves. They had restaurants, and Crystal Palace had a really popular saltwater indoor pool. Murdoch's had a photography studio. Not everybody had a camera available to them, so they would come in and get family photos at the beach. And then, yeah, they were very, very popular, and they kind of lined our beachfront.
Well, and at one point, weren't there even the dressing rooms that would roll on the beach?
Yes, they had small carts that were essentially the to-go version of a bathhouse that were on the beach on wheels, and people could go in and they could change into their suit. And as high tide would come in, somebody would come over and roll it back. And as tide went back out, they'd roll it closer.
Oh, well, and do you think a lot of people knew how to swim? Because I've seen a lot of photos where they're holding on to rope in the beach or on the beach.
I think so, but again, since it was just gaining the popularity.
It was a new pastime.
I think it was better safe than sorry, since a lot of people didn't spend a whole bunch of time in the water, aside from maybe, residents that live down here.
So there were of course, the beach was an attraction. During one of our recent podcasts, we did an interview with Kimber Fountain, and she talked about the Macias and their influence in bringing and hiring a promoter to create the pageant of pulchritude. And there were also car races and things like that. What other events evolved around the beaches?
Yeah, there was one event in the late 1800s, early 1900s, Splash Day. There was what eventually became that pageant was the Bathing Girl Revue, or the Beach Revue, which started in May of 1920. It quickly gained popularity, and it included many festivities like parades, contests. It was a whole weekend event that drew in tens of thousands of visitors. And then there were other things as well. The Strand was very important in commerce, as was the wharf, so that already had people with Galveston in their mind. And then just the idea that a seawall protected the island kind of became its own attraction as well.
Well, there's pictures, and I know that they have one on display at the Galvez, but the old roller cars or roller carts where you kind of sat, roller chairs, where you sat in this chair and they rolled you down the seawall, and so you could enjoy the view. And you look at these old photos, and people are dressed to the nines, really, to walk down this new creation of the seawall. So that is really something to learn and to see how Galveston has evolved, how even though here we are all these years later, the beach is still a major reason that people come to the island.
Absolutely. And one really interesting thing as well is you see some of the spirit of Galveston that we live with every day in these old photographs. There's Electric Park, for instance, that was around until 1916. Galveston was the first place in Texas to have electricity, so they really marketed that and created Electric Park, which was one of the first amusement parks down here, so that people could get dressed to the nines and then go on top of the Ferris wheel and look all over the island just like we can today.
Well, and then we still have the Pleasure Pier, which was not the original Pleasure Pier. Everyone should know that. But the Landry's Corporation and Tillman Fertitta brought back the Pleasure Pier. They have a history exhibit there about the history of the Pleasure Pier as well. But it is interesting to see that. So when you're doing this research, you said it took about 3 months to do all the research. What was the thing that surprised you the most as part of this exhibit?
Yeah, I think it would be twofold for me. First is the idea of renting bathing suits. That really shocked me. Though I understand why they had to do it, I prefer to own my own. And then I think also just the existence of Electric Park. It's not something that you can very easily find information on, but we have such an incredible collection here that I saw it in the background of something and was like, wait a second, what is that? This says 1915. Why is that here?
Well, and it only lasted a few years because it was a
Correct.
hurricane in 1915.
Correct. I believe, I could be wrong on this date, but I believe it was officially opened around 1910. They started dismantling it for more work on the seawall around 1915, and then that hurricane hit, and it kind of took it out. And then I believe there was one smaller hurricane in 1916 that kind of sealed its fate.
Since you've been doing so much research, what are some of the things that you found helpful that people may not be aware of that is available here at the museum?
Yeah, we are an incredible resource. We have a fantastic research library that's available by appointment. You can just shoot us an email, give us a call. We have wonderful subject files that have, decades of research that we have done and other researchers. We also have an amazing artifact collection of over 20,000 artifacts that represent the history of this amazing island and the county. And then the museum itself is a great resource. And even if you're not wanting to do intensive research, you can stop by or just give us a call or an email, and we are happy to be a resource as well. We absolutely love spreading any information we have.
There's some very knowledgeable people that are part of the county museum. Let me tell you. So, what is your favorite exhibit here?
Ooh, that's tough. I had to really think about this because I get asked that a lot. I would be biased if I said the beach exhibit. I would say probably the immigration exhibit. I think that really just highlights the rich history that has been brought into the island that has become part of this fantastic community. We also maybe have a future exhibit that will be coming soon that may or may not end up being my favorite. You'll have to come see.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. It is pretty exciting. It's very exciting. Well, thank you so much for being a guest
Absolutely.
on Unboxing History, Shelby. This is why Galveston is so fascinating. People picture other coastal towns, but we are the coastal town of Texas. I mean, Galveston is where people came for many, many years. They spent family vacations. It's fun how you have generations of people that have come to Galveston
Absolutely.
to spend their summers or their spring breaks. And what an example of our history here.
Absolutely. I know there's no other island I'd rather be on.
I agree. Well, the Galveston County Museum is open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 10 to 4, free and open to the public. And also want to invite you to do a private museum experience that's available on Tuesdays and Thursdays through our Padlock Mystery game. And you can also make an appointment for small group tours as well. So thank you so much for joining us for Unboxing History. Please follow, and we'd love to hear from you on what you'd like to see more on Unboxing History.